Thanks, Donna. Thank you. Well, good afternoon. It's great to be here with all of you today. Let me see. Oh, yay, that worked. I am here. Actually, most people, when they think about me, they think about AgeWave because it is the company that I co-founded. And they think about the fact that AgeWave is a company that is a think tank focused on the demographic shifts and what they mean for business. And so, for the last 25 years, I've been incredibly focused on the aging of the population and what it means for business, for our lives, for the way we live and work, and for the way we buy. And a couple years ago, we were approached by a client of ours. Oh, great, thank you. Looks like I had something growing out of my head, huh? We were approached by a client of ours who asked us if we would be willing to conduct the largest study ever on women and money. And we were a little hesitant because it was a little bit out of what we considered our sweet spot. But we decided to do it because we thought it would be a lot of fun. And in the process of doing it, I had the opportunity to travel all over the country and be involved in focus groups with women and men on the subject of women, money, and power. And I became fascinated because what I realized was that underneath this entire AgeWave story, which I've been pitching as one of the biggest paradigm shifts that we are experiencing in today's world, but underneath that was another story, a story of women and money that might even have more repercussions for all of us than the whole AgeWave story. And that seemed pretty amazing to me. So I became completely fascinated by it, and I started exploring it beyond the study. And in fact, I just got a book contract, and the working title of the book is going to be The Athena Effect: How Women with Money Are Changing the World. So obviously this is something that I'm really interested in, and it does encompass a lot of the work that I've been doing up to this point. So what I'd like to ask you to do over the next little while is to take whatever thoughts you have about this whole women and money thing and put it to the side. You probably know most of the facts as Donna had just laid out because they're out there. We've lived them. We've created them in many instances, which is pretty exciting. But what we kind of forget is that this is sort of a huge shift that we've never really experienced before because it's, although it's like these geo plates moving, it's also something that has taken a long time to take place. It's happened, for the most part, over the last 100 years, and it comes in sort of fits and starts. And the amazing thing is that many of the people who are the most affected by it write it off and take it for granted. So I'd like to ask you not to do that for the next little bit of time, and let's take a look at this together and see what we can discover. The way I'm going to go about this is first I'm going to describe how women have risen in power over the last 100 years, and then I'm going to describe just 4 engines of change, 4 things that I believe that women are going to pioneer and transform in our country, and they're all really rooted in the AgeWave. So let's get started. First, let's talk about the fact that women, in fact, are rising in power. Now, we all know it's always been a man's world, right? I mean, men were the ones who had the strength and the tenacity to go out there and catch that big thing that needed to be caught so that we could eat and take care of the tribe, protect the tribe. Women were, in fact, mostly revered for their ability to have children, their fertility, really, to have children and to take care of home and hearth. But over the last 100 years, specifically over the last several decades, I would say the last decade in particular, we have seen that women have brought their own brand of intelligence and genius to the party and really changed things. And I would say that being part of the technology revolution is a huge part of it. Women have taken the idea of intellectual capital and developed it, and they have thrived as a result. By the way, when I told my daughter, who's 21, that 100 years ago women couldn't own money in their own name, she was shocked. She couldn't believe it. And then when I went further to say that women couldn't even own real estate and didn't have the right to vote, well, she knew about the right to vote. I mean, everyone knows that. But what she didn't realize was that the whole suffrage movement had started before the Civil War, yet women didn't get the right to vote until 40 years after black men got the right to vote. So in the Declaration of Independence, when Thomas Jefferson said that all men are created equal, he was literal. He meant that. Women were really just possessions. They had no civil rights, and they were under the auspices of either their father and brother, oftentimes kindly father and brother, and or a husband. And that's just the way it was up until very recently. And at the root of this shift, and Donna alluded to this also, is this whole idea of education. I mean, throughout most of history, women didn't really get the chance for an education. And when the doors opened, women flocked through them. You can see the way the college graduation numbers have risen for women. Again, mostly, traditionally speaking, women learned from their mothers and their grandmothers how to keep a home and how to mend and maybe how to read and write and take care of a household. But that all changed with the baby boom generation, which I'm a part of. Women born between 1946 and 1964 were the first generation en masse of women, not just privileged women, but just the critical mass of women got the right to go to college. And this was something that was new. And I would say that the parents of the boomer women, that World War II generation of women and the mature women of today, they never get the credit that they deserve, because those are the women who pushed their daughters and said, go to college, you need that education, you will be more than just an MRS. So I think we have them to thank for this, even though the boomers are the ones who generally get all the credit for this. And I remember when I was in high school, I thought about maybe going to a prestigious Ivy League school, and most of them weren't even really open to me. It wasn't until 1969 that Yale opened their doors to women, Harvard 1972. And my son, who is 18 years old, this fall is going off to Columbia. I told him that in the past, not that long ago, in the 1980s, early 80s, if he had gone to Columbia then, he would have been at an all-male school, and he was devastated. I mean, he said, well, who would want to go there? Things have really changed, and the change has taken place in our lifetime, so we often just take it for granted. As a result, and everyone knows this, it's no secret that women are graduating college in higher numbers than men. It's also no secret that women are also going on to those graduate degrees, the degrees that equate very beautifully with earning power and to professional lifestyles. This is the place, suddenly, brawn is being overpowered by brains, and women are showing that they've got that. Their education is translating directly into earning power. Donna already pointed out that 62%, and it's amazing that our statistics match perfectly, but 62% of all women are in the so-called formal workforce. 72% of all baby boomer women are in the workforce. So more boomer women work than the younger generations, which is kind of surprising. In addition to which, in our very troubled economy, we see that men are losing jobs, women are still gaining jobs. Of course, that has to do with the kind of work that women and men are doing. Men sort of close the door to women in the world of manufacturing to a great extent. Those are the jobs that are going away, whereas women in the intellectual capital games, they're doing pretty good. And that equates directly to income growth. We see that men have really had a relatively flat income growth since 1970, whereas women's has gone through the roof. Now, of course, there's got to be some of you who are rolling your eyes at this and saying, well, gee, what about that wage gap? Well, yeah, there still is a wage gap. In fact, for every dollar that men make, women only make 76 cents. But that wage gap has closed dramatically. And for college-educated women, when they leave college, they're actually earning more than men who leave college. So we're beginning to see some shifts that are pretty interesting.